What's going on, guys? So today's video, we are again working on the Hellcat Swapped RAM 1500. So if you guys are new to the channel or just stopping by, this is the 5.7 engine from that truck. We already took it out. Here is the Hellcat engine that's going in. We went through a bunch of stuff to make sure that this used Hellcat engine was ready to go. And I'll talk about all the spaghetti in just a second. So here's the truck, single cab Ram. And we've already got it ready to go. We've also already Hellcat swapped a Dodge Dakota, if you guys haven't already seen that. So she's back from paint, looking good. But if you guys are interested in this, go check out those videos. So where I'm at right now is I haven't, if you guys saw us yank the engine and all that stuff, I'll link that above so you guys can get caught up to speed. So everything is ready to go for the new engine. What I've spent the last, I want to almost say like probably 4 or 5 days doing now is getting the harness situated. So finally did a bunch of wiring stuff and getting the harness sorted out. And right now I've pretty much got everything where I need it to be. I'm going to double check a few things and then I'm going to be getting the wires all dressed in. So it has just been madness here, you guys. All wiring diagrams and pinouts and all that stuff. If you guys think this is a plug and play situation, I'm here to tell you that it is absolutely not. So a lot of rewiring we had to do. But stuck my head into the diagrams for literally days. Rewired stuff, repinned stuff, had to move stuff around, all sorts of stuff. But in the end, between the Hellcat harness and the Ram harness, I now have a working, functioning harness that should get the job done. So I'm going to, what I will tell you guys is I am going to dress everything in from the sensors back to the connectors. There's a few things that I haven't fully decided which way we're going to go on things. Specifically being the alternator. I have 2 different alternators and a couple different choices on that. Going to try and use this alternator here, which is off like a 2021 and up, and it's located over here instead of down there. But that alternator specifically is controlled a completely different way. So it's actually a newer alternator, a little bit smarter, and it only runs off 1 wire, and it's actually a CAN communication wire. Whereas the older alternators are a 2-wire setup, and they kind of just function off communications off the 2 wires instead of 1 single wire. So that's some of the reason why I'm going to keep some of this wiring that goes actually into the PCM out. So I fully get that this might look scary for most people, and it probably is very intimidating, but I've done a lot of networking stuff in the past, so having a bunch of spaghetti of wires doesn't bother me too much. And watch, once I get it dressed in, you'll never know the difference. But yeah, it's been many days coming getting to this point so far. Okay, just a little update for you guys. So I dressed in our coil wires, really nice. Dressed in this wire harness section here, and where it goes to all of our fuel injectors. Same thing over here, dressed in across the top where it goes to the fuel injectors. Dressed this nicely here where it goes to our coil packs. And right now I'm just bundling up where it goes into the PCM right here. I'm gonna leave this section open because I'm gonna have to still do a little bit of final testing and stuff, and there's some items that I'm not sure how I want to accomplish them yet, but I'll be tackling them soon. So I'm going to leave that just like that, and then I'm going to dress all this spaghetti together. And before somebody says, hey, you know, that's, you know, messy or whatever, this is the factory wire. So like this I didn't even cut or do anything with, and they bundle it up. Like they just have all this weird excess in here, and you can see all this heat shrinked stuff. That's all factory. I did not do that. But what I'm going to do is just follow the factory pretty much the same way the factory did. Is they had it all scrunched up in here, and you can see there's like little loops and all that junk in there. That's the way they had it in the factories. So pretty much going to do something similar, tighten it all up, try to dress it in as nice as possible so it comes across the back here, and then the one's going to come down to the back to our transmission, and I'll be it. So let me work on this and I'll show you guys what I got. Okay, you guys, so it is the next day and this thing is all wrapped up. No, it didn't take me a whole day to do this, but it was late last night when I was doing this, and I just wanted to get it sorted out before I called it a wrap for the day. So everything is wrapped up. You'll notice I didn't do this section like I mentioned to you guys. That all goes there. Obviously that's going to mount there on our firewall, and everything reaches. So Really happy with the way it came out. And what I am going to do now is I'm going to take off the supercharger just so that I can, you know, hang the engine a little bit easier. I feel like this thing is a boat anchor, so it's not going to be that fun to put it on, but I think it's just going to be easier to get the engine in and in place, and then I'll put the charger on afterwards. So the engine's pretty much good to go. I probably can change these fittings out for the Earl's fittings. I might just open these so they're a little bit loose so I can get in there a little bit easier. Also, alternator brackets in place. Alternator I'm going to keep off for now. And then as far as prep on the actual vehicle itself, I know a bunch of people will keep freaking out about this. Just so you guys know, there's a rag here. I just wanted to flip it out of the way so it wasn't in our way. I probably might spend a few minutes cleaning this underneath, just since it's going to be hard to get to afterwards. Other thing is all these coolant lines and stuff, I do have to, it's going to get a little bit of a mess, so I guess I might as well get into that, do some cleaning right now. So I'm going to remove some of these coolant lines, clean this up a little bit since it'll be hard to get to afterwards. Ideally, I should probably roll it out there and pressure wash it, which I may or may not do. We'll see what happens there, but let me get some work done on this. All right, so I ended up throwing the Ram back on the ground with the wheels on. I might push it. I might get the old tractor and drag it out there, but I'm gonna go ahead, pressure wash it out. That way the whole engine bay and frame rail and steering rack and all that is nice and clean, like you guys know that I like to get it. I did throw the converter back in, that way the transmission's all sealed back up. And what else? I'm gonna fire up the Hellcat, and this will also be at Mo Party if you guys do or don't know. So the goal is to have both Hellcat swapped blue trucks at Mo Party this year. So let's fire this up, back it up, and then let me see if I can push this. Either that or the John Deere is gonna drag this out. The Hellcat is out. Now for the fun part. Let me see if I can push this or if I have to drag it by myself, because I kind of have to steer and all that stuff. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so I got it moving. It's not terrible. All right, so I managed to push that fat girl out there by myself. The shop looks huge without that thing there. So I'm gonna hook up the pressure washer, clean everything up. You guys know how it looks right now. I'll just show you guys with a bit more light. Super, I mean, the truck only has like 50K on it, but just normal, just grime and all that stuff from people changing the oil, because the oil filter's here, so when all that drips on the rack and stuff, just dirt sticks to it. So I'm gonna go ahead, clean it up, use some degreaser and get this all looking like brand new, and then I can move on. All right, so I managed to push this thing back in by myself. I ended up cleaning everything, you guys, so it's kind of hard to see, but I pressure washed the whole front radiator support, bumper support, the rebar and all that stuff. And then now this thing is cleaned up. It's a little bit of like kind of, I don't even know what to call this. When you like kind of degrease stuff, it kind of leaves like this ashy look, but all the nastiness and crud is off. You can see our steering rack is nice and clean now, so I'm pretty happy with that. So with that being done and said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this engine in here, boys. So what I am going to do is I'm going to remove the wiring harness, and then I'm also going to take off the supercharger. It makes it a little bit easier for me to get the hoist on here, and I can anchor off the 4 points from the head. And also I want to be able to kind of, you know, see the supercharger go in there and the clearance as well. I don't want to be fighting with trying to align up the back of the engine and have the charger in the way. So only thing is I'll probably, like, this is going to sound funny, but I'm probably going to use the hoist to lift this. This thing weighs like a good 100 and something pounds. I don't know what the exact number is, but it is like heavy and awkward as heck. So I'm going to take this off. We'll get the motor lined up, get it in there, and looks like in this episode we'll have the motor hung inside the chassis. All right, so supercharger is off, and I've got our points all connected so that we can lift this thing up. What I am doing right now is I figure it'd just be easier. We've got our Earl's Performance plumbing here. So I've got the fittings that go right here as well. So I'm gonna get those installed. I just took out the factory ones. They're these ones that always tend to leak. But anyways, took those out. These are gonna screw directly onto our fittings here, because by the time we get this engine sitting in here, our frame rail is gonna be right here. So figured I might as well get at least these two fittings installed so that we're ready to go once that time comes. There we go, we've got them both installed. We used our Earl's aluminum wrench so that it doesn't make any marks. And let's go ahead and get this engine in, hopefully, boys. All right, so engine is up. We've got it on the leveler. This thing is super cool, so if you guys don't have one of these, I'll link it down below. This was like 25 bucks off Amazon and hooks up beautifully on these Gen 3 Hemis. So use it to take this one out. There's just 4 anchors on the side of the heads there, and same thing with this one. And I can actually adjust it to make sure that the engine's hanging level. So I'm gonna go ahead, get it up and into our engine bay, put on our engine mounts once we get in there. It's just a little bit easier to get just to put them on afterwards, just so that we don't have to lift it over top of these. And we'll get this sucker in here. Okay, so I got the engine most of the way in, you guys, but when I was trying to put some of the bolts in, I noticed that even though these look strikingly similar, so this is the Trackhawk plate, this one is slightly different than that one. If you look at it, where it meets, even though the starter is on the correct side, see the bolts, how they are different. So I had to wiggle this out of there, and now I gotta wiggle this one for the 8 HP 70 in here. All right, guys, well, the engine is in, so I'm pretty happy about that, but let me go over a few things. So engine is in, we've got good clearance on our pan on the steering rack, so all is good and well there. Couple things, I'm probably going to either, I guess there's a couple options here. I'm probably going to either just run a smaller filter here. So I know like the 4th gen RAM, the 5.7 runs a smaller filter. So either that, or I get the TRX oil filter adapter there that goes on the angle. As far as everything else, it looks like we have good clearance along the back. I measured and I think we're gonna be okay on the supercharger. As for over here, the valve cover, you can see the oil cap is like not accessible whatsoever. So it's not hitting, but I did remove this like 45-degree neck and just put the oil cap straight in there. So a couple things could happen. Technically, I could swap the valve covers side to side, but if I do that, then our PCV pickups are gonna be at the back, and the reason why they're at the front is because most of the time on these, you know, muscle cars, muscle trucks, you're accelerating, so you don't wanna be sucking oil from the back of your valve cover. There is baffling inside, so it probably would be minimal, but that is the reason why they have them at the front, so that when you're accelerating, that you're not, you know, sucking up oil essentially. What I'm thinking of doing for now, I could get the TRX valve cover, but it's $500, you guys, just for one side, and it puts the oil pickup here, or fill, I guess I should say. But you guys might laugh at this for now. I'm honestly thinking, just at least for now, until I can find a used TRX cover, or maybe they come to be a better price, I might honestly just fill the oil through this port here. So I can honestly just put a hose here, get like, I have the identical blue funnel with the same size on it. So if I just got this funnel, put a hose between, and just take off that quick connect, because it's just a quick connect, you squeeze it and it pops right off, I could just fill the oil from there. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm not trying to be too cheap, but $500 for one valve cover just seems a little bit ridiculous right now. And like I said, flopping them or swapping them back and forth, then it puts these at the back where they're not supposed to be. So another reason you guys might say, well, why don't you use like the valve covers off of 5.7? You can't use those because they don't have any oil fill. The oil fill is on the intake manifold on the 5.7 and 6.4s. So those don't have any way to fill the oil. Plus they don't have any ventilation for your crank. So there's no PCVs on either one of those valve covers because it gets vented through your intake, but since there's a supercharger, the ventilation's on the valve covers, and that's why we went with the Hellcat valve covers. Everything else seems to fit pretty good. I did test my AC compressor, that swings over and that fits. But one thing we are gonna have to do, if you guys can see right here, so see that cross member? I took it out, it's right there on the floor. It does get in the way of this pan. So you can see there, I'm gonna have to, what I'm gonna essentially do is just go down. I'm gonna bolt it up to where it's supposed to, because right now it clears, but I do need to and want to put that brace back in. So what I'm gonna do is probably just modify that one so that it drops down a little bit lower. That brace is actually higher than the bottom of this front one, so dropping it down, it's still gonna end up being pretty much level with this, so it's not an issue there, but I'll end up just dropping it down and then across, and it'll go back up over to here. So that's the plan with that. So I'm gonna have to do some I guess modification to that. Other than that, our engine mounts bolt straight up, so engine mounts are on, everything's good. Transmission bolted up nicely, so we are good there once I changed that plate that went between. And pretty much I'm gonna do those items, and then once I do those items, then I can put my wire harness back on, and then once the wire harness goes back on, then I can put the supercharger on. So that's pretty much it, but that's gonna be a wrap for this video, you guys. Accomplished a lot. I want to get this edited for you guys so I can get it out, since I haven't been posting too much progress or update videos since the harness took me a while. So, but everything else is pretty much here. Only thing we're waiting on is the oil cooler. So whatever it takes, transmission parts and drivetrain parts, they are hooking us up with that. So the oil cooler is on its way, and then after that I pretty much have everything here that I need to get the job done. It's just a matter of logging the hours and getting it done. So it's up to me. Let me know on those items. I pretty much have an idea of what I'm gonna do, but it's always interesting and fun for you guys to chime in and have a discussion amongst yourselves how you would complete a project like this. So I'm gonna wrap my head around it. I'm gonna get it done, but drop a comment down below how you would get it done. It's always a fun time to do that. So thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you guys in the next video.